Hey, this is John Zombro with the Lifetime Athlete, and thanks for joining me today. It's midsummer. I hope you're having a great summer, and what I want to share with you is something I've been thinking about and talking about recently. In fact, I fleshed out these discussion points with a client just a few hours ago, and I felt it was so appropriate to share in this video. My main goal is to get you thinking about some of these topics more than telling you exactly what to do or how to go about that. I'd also appreciate any comments or questions that you have, and let's jump right into this brief video. The topic here is aging gracefully, aging athletically, and that does require some explanation. I've been studying this topic for many years, and whether you're a young athlete trying for peak performance or someone later in life who's trying to preserve athleticism and even daily functional capacities, I think these messages will be useful. So first of all, if we look at this graph, and this is just my version of what we call a health span graph, and so we have health on the vertical or y-axis, and then length of life on the horizontal. What you'll notice is that this would be an ideal health span, and there are some people in our world who experience this, maintaining high health through a very long life in a rather brief and efficient ending, versus what is typical, particularly in Western society and in the United States, is we start off with moderate health, which then tends to decline into middle age, where it precipitously drops at some point and then maintains a relatively low baseline for 1 to 2 decades as we're propped up by our medical system. And this is not desirable. Then when you look at this graph, and this is a kind of an interpretation of one which I got from the Our World in Data website, which is a wonderful place to get statistical information. Well, interestingly enough, length of life in Europe tends to be 5 or 6 years longer than what we experience on average across our population and both genders in the United States. Also, the healthcare expenditure to support that lifespan or length of life is actually more than double in the US. So an average amongst the European countries and Japan and several other places is around $4,000 per capita, whereas we're seeing $10,000 and up to keep an American alive over that time. And that's just not desirable. I don't think anyone deserves that journey, and I think we can make it better. We can do a better job. And first of all, you have to think about length of life versus quality of life. They're not quite the same thing. We can live a long life that's not exceedingly healthy, or we can be very healthy, and that correlates with perceived quality of life, productivity, success, and satisfaction. Also, health and fitness are not quite the same thing. We want good overall health. However, we also want fitness and that ability to perform and function at the highest of levels. Now, you can be healthy and not completely fit, and also you can be relatively fit, but if lifestyle isn't ideal, you can have less than optimal health. Last thing here, we've got performance and function, and I'm going to say they're more similar than they are different. Certainly you'll think of performance on the playing field, and that's really what winners are exhibiting. But the daily function that we go through life, whether that's everything we do at work and in our relationships or even in our tasks, is also essentially a form of performance, and we deserve for that to be the highest possible. So where does all this lead us to at the Lifetime Athlete? Well, certainly we're not going to ignore lifestyle, and we're going to say, gosh, we need to have good nutrition and good sleep and good stress management and other practices. But when we get into the world of movement, we want to start to appreciate these terms. Activity, or general daily activity, sometimes I call that GDA, is essential to get that motion and that circulation every day. That's related to the step count, and we need it. We also have exercise, and that's actually the type of movement which is a bit more formal, where we dress out for it, if you will, and we're doing certain things to improve our physical capacities. Well, when we make our training, when we make our exercise training, it becomes more purpose-driven and more meaningful, and we typically get more consistency and more results when exercise becomes training. Training for anything, and that could be life, but also for sports, for play and competition, and we need those things as human beasts. So I highly recommend that you give that model some consideration. Then as we move along, what you'll notice is that activity, it is good, and we have data to support it, but it's not good enough. Activity alone doesn't make an optimal performing human beast. Now exercise, that's almost good enough when we add that in. And typically what you'll see when most people are exercising, they're doing what we're going to call the slow things. And I'm not saying that's slow as in bad, it's just slow as in not quite good enough. We have endurance, and you can train for endurance or cardiorespiratory fitness. Everyone knows how to do that. We've got resistance training for strength, and then people do mobility training, stretching, and other things to improve the range of motion and ability to access it. However, that's not quite enough. And where we become athletic is when we take that training and our sports and play and competition, and we make sure they contain these three final elements. Now, agility actually involves mobility, or it contains it, but it also has stability. We have to be stable in some places to be mobile in others, and that's a concert, a harmony that a good mover human body will exhibit. We want fluidity. We want things to flow and be graceful and artistic and poetic. And also we need reactivity to be able to adapt to, in sports, competition, change of direction, the environment, and also simply in life as we're moving along. Nothing is static. And so the agile athlete is indeed expressing good athletic qualities. We want to be powerful and have an explosive ability. And this is certainly related to output in, again, sports and life, but also injury prevention. A lack of power is oftentimes related to an injury. And then speed. When we optimize the central nervous system and our type 2 or fast twitch muscle fibers, which do atrophy if we don't use them, we get to the fountain of youth. And so you put all this together, it actually becomes fairly simple, just using a bit of wise training and play methodology through the week. We're not talking tons of hours here, but there are ways to enhance all of those graphs by doing these things. We develop athletic fitness, and that is really when fitness addresses all of these components of athleticism, and we've created the most versatile, durable, robust, and resilient human beast. We want to have athletic longevity. Of course, we want you to be active when you're in your teens or 20s or 30s and perhaps pursuing the peak performances of your life, but we also want that to be a part of your life as far as we can take it, almost to the end. And it is possible, believe me. Putting all these things together helps you to become a movement smith, someone who owns position and has mastery or competency of movement in every direction from any of those positions. And that's a skill that can be trained, that we all need to develop and preserve. And lastly, that's how you become hard to kill on the playing field and in the game of life. So thank you for letting me share those ideas or principles with you, and I hope that this has inspired you in some way. Till next time, this is Coach JZ signing out from The Lifetime Athlete. And if you need any other information or resources, just go to thelifetimeathlete.com, where you'll find hundreds of videos, podcasts, articles, as well as my coaching services, books, and programs.